There is a quiet strength in the soul that refuses to flinch, a power that steadies the hand when the world is shaking, that stills the heart when storms are raging, and that smiles gently when chaos knocks at the door. This is not a strength built on arrogance or denial. It is not a mask that hides fear, nor a facade painted to impress. It is the grace of being unbothered, the divine calm that walks hand in hand with faith. And beloved, when we learn to stand in this place not to pretend, but to truly embody peace in the storm, we have tapped into something eternal. We are not merely enduring the world. We are transcending it. I speak to you not as someone who has never trembled, but as one who has watched people weather the worst trials and still lift their eyes toward heaven. I have seen saints buried by the weight of grief, yet sing with trembling lips the hymns of hope. I have seen mothers lose sons, yet forgive with hearts full of mercy. I have seen the faithful, jobless, and sick still greet the morning with praise. And I have learned through them what it means to be unbothered, not untouched, not indifferent, but grounded in a peace that does not ask for circumstances to be favorable. A peace that flows from within, because it is not of this world. To be unbothered is not to be emotionless. It is not the absence of care, nor a hardened shell. It is the firm resolve that no matter what may come, you will not be shaken, because your trust is anchored in something deeper than the surface of things. It is not a performance, it is a possession. A soul so aligned with the will of God that nothing external can rob it of its serenity. And this is not a trait for the elite, the strong, or the few. It is a spiritual discipline. It is cultivated in silence, nurtured in trials, and perfected in communion with the one who calms every storm. Jesus himself was never hurried, never flustered, never controlled by fear or manipulated by men. He was unbothered because he was always centered. He was never disconnected from his purpose, never unaware of the Father's presence. Even when accused, beaten, betrayed, and crucified, he bore it all with a holy stillness that testified to heaven's strength. That, dear friend, is our model. The world will tell you to fight for peace by seizing control. Control your image, your narrative, your enemies, your future. But that is not peace. That is anxiety in a tuxedo. True peace, unbothered, immovable, unsinkable, comes not from conquering what is around you, but from surrendering what is within you. It comes from relinquishing the need to be understood, the desire to retaliate, the hunger to win every argument, and embracing the gentle power of God's presence. When you truly believe that He works all things together for your good, you stop scrambling for control. You stop performing. You start resting. You stop reacting to every critic, every storm, every disappointment. And in that rest, you become powerful not because of what you do, but because of what you refuse to let disturb your spirit. This kind of peace makes no sense to the world. It is a mystery. It's why Paul could sing in prison. It's why Job could say, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." It's why Jesus, with nails in his hands, could pray, "Father, forgive them." To the world, this looks like madness. But to the soul connected to God, it is clarity. The trials are real. The pain is real. The betrayal is real. But none of them are final, and none of them are greater than the one who holds us. That knowledge, that faith, is what breeds a spirit that is unbothered. It is not about how strong you are. It is about how rooted you are. If your identity is rooted in the opinions of men, you will always be moved. If your hope is rooted in circumstances, you will always be anxious. But if your spirit is rooted in the eternal God, no storm can uproot you. To live unbothered does not mean you ignore pain, but that you place it in perspective. It means you feel, but do not fear. You grieve, but you do not despair. You cry, but you do not crumble. Because beneath every emotion is the unshakable knowledge that you are held. Held by the same hands that formed the stars. Held by the same heart that died for you. Held by a love so vast, so intentional, that no trial can separate you from it. The world will try to draw you into its chaos. It will bait you with anger, with fear, with jealousy, with urgency. But you must rise above that noise. You must learn the sacred art of staying still inside, even when everything outside is falling apart. There is a moment in the Gospels when Jesus is asleep in a boat while a storm rages. His disciples are terrified. They cry out in panic. The winds howl. The waves crash. But he sleeps, not out of ignorance, but out of perfect trust. And when he awakes, he does not panic. He does not scold them for waking him, but he does question their faith. "Why are you so afraid?" he asks. That question echoes through the centuries into our hearts today. Why are we afraid? Why do we let the storms of life dictate the posture of our soul? Why do we let every wave shake us, every insult pierce us, every delay discourage us? The same Jesus who slept through the storm now lives within us. And if he was unbothered then, we can be unbothered now. Not because life will always be gentle, but because our Savior is always near. There is tremendous power in walking through life with a composed spirit, a power that silences critics, confounds enemies, and draws others toward the light of God in you. People may not remember your words. They may not even understand your faith, but they will remember your peace. They will remember that when others panicked, you prayed. When others cursed, you blessed. When others retaliated, you forgave. And when others broke, you stood. That witness is stronger than any sermon. That presence is louder than any speech. And that peace is possible not through willpower, but through surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is knowing that your strength is limited, but his is limitless. It is knowing that your vision is short, but his is eternal. It is knowing that you do not need to control every outcome, because the one who wrote your story holds the pen with a steady hand. And when you trust that, you stop striving. You stop scrambling. You start abiding, and the more you abide in him, the less the world bothers you. Its insults become noise. Its pressure becomes opportunity. Its darkness becomes the canvas on which your light shines. And that, my friend, is the call. Not just to survive, but to shine. Not just to endure, but to radiate. To live so rooted in Christ that the winds of the world only prune you, never break you. To smile when others scowl. To forgive when others plot. To rest when others run. This is not fantasy. This is faith. And it is available to you right now, not when your circumstances change, but when your perspective does. Right here, right now, you can choose to step out of the chaos and into the calm. You can choose to stop reacting and start responding. You can choose peace. You can choose God. The beauty of this unbothered spirit is that it does not require the world to change in order for peace to blossom. It does not depend on a bank account being full, a doctor's report being favorable, or the applause of men echoing in your ears. No, this peace begins where it matters most inside. It is born not in moments of victory, but in valleys of decision. It is in the quiet hours of hardship that you decide who you will be. It is in the tension between what you want and what you are given that your soul is refined. And if you allow him, God will use every disappointment not to destroy you, but to deepen you. Every delay will not be denial, but preparation. Every rejection will not be punishment, but redirection. This is the lens of the unbothered soul. It sees through what is happening and anchors in what is eternal. You see, it is not the absence of storms that sets the believer apart. It is how we walk through them. And more than that, how we respond to them. The enemy knows that he cannot take your salvation, so he will try to take your serenity. He will whisper lies in your ear, stir unrest in your heart, provoke anger in your relationships, and poke at your insecurities not to defeat you outright, but to distract you from the strength that is already yours. But the moment you realize that peace is not a place, but a person, Jesus Christ, you begin to reclaim your birthright. You begin to walk in authority. And when you do, the enemy loses his grip. You are no longer easily offended. You are no longer easily provoked. You are no longer easily shaken, because your identity is no longer up for debate. It is settled in the finished work of the cross. It is this foundation that gives birth to the unbothered soul, a soul that is not numb, but nourished, not passive, but planted, not distant, but discerning, a soul that knows when to speak and when to be silent, when to engage and when to walk away, a soul that sees with eyes of wisdom and hears with ears of grace. This is the fruit of intimacy with God, not performance for others, but communion with the Father. When you abide in him, you begin to see through his eyes. You begin to value what he values. And suddenly, what once bothered you loses its power. The insults of men feel lighter. The delays of life seem purposeful. The tension becomes a training ground for trust. The Lord is not raising a generation of reactors, but of responders, people who don't let the devil write the script. People who don't let emotion run the show. People who stop, listen, and move at the pace of heaven. And to live this way, we must go deeper than feelings. We must go to the truth that you are not alone. The truth that you are loved beyond comprehension. The truth that your destiny is sealed, your worth is declared, and your value is established. When that truth takes root in your heart, the fear of man begins to wither. The pressure to perform starts to die. The need to prove yourself disappears like mist in the morning sun. When your soul rests in the hands of the Almighty, the world can no longer dictate your worth. You no longer chase approval because you've already been accepted. You no longer strive for applause because you know that heaven already rejoices over you. And when that becomes your anchor, the insults of people lose their sting. The confusion of delay loses its bite. You can sit at the table with enemies and not flinch. You can smile at those who mock you and pray for those who wrong you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are rooted. And nothing grows deeper than a heart planted in grace. This is the spiritual strength we are called to quiet, but not timid, gentle, but not weak, calm, but not complacent. And let me tell you, there is nothing passive about this peace. It is a force that silences storms. A force that shuts the mouth of lions. A force that walks through fire and comes out unsinged. This is the power of resting in God. The world will mock it. The world will not understand it. But the world cannot touch it, for it is protected by heaven itself. So when you walk through fire and do not burn, remember it is not you, but Christ in you. When you endure betrayal and remain kind, it is not you, but Christ in you. When you are tested and do not break, it is not you, but Christ in you. And when you are calm when others crumble, it is not you, but Christ in you. This is the testimony of the unbothered. Not that life has been easy, but that God has been faithful. Not that storms have been few, but that peace has been stronger. Not that pain was absent, but that presence was always there. The presence of the one who sees you, who knows you, who walks with you in the valley, and who whispers, "Be still and know that I am God." That voice is the compass. That presence is the anchor. That truth is the light that pierces every shadow and stills every wave. So do not let your joy be dictated by the mood of the day. Do not let your peace be stolen by the chatter of men. Do not let your identity be shaped by the mirror of the world. Rise above, not in pride, but in purpose. Not in hardness, but in holiness. Choose stillness, not because you are indifferent, but because you are informed. You know who holds tomorrow. You know who has already won, and that knowledge changes how you carry yourself today. You don't have to respond to every voice. You don't have to chase every answer. You don't have to win every fight. Sometimes the greatest power is in walking away, not out of fear, but in full confidence that God is fighting for you. And make no mistake, He is. He sees every injustice. He hears every cry. He catches every tear. Nothing escapes His notice. And because of that, you do not have to carry the weight of vindication. You do not have to avenge yourself. You do not have to prove your case. You only have to stand. Stand in grace. Stand in peace. Stand in the truth that vengeance is His, and so is the victory. And when you stand like that, when your soul is unbothered by the battles that rage around you, you become a witness to something greater. People see it in you. They wonder about it. They are drawn to it. And that's when the real miracle begins, not just that you have peace, but that your peace becomes contagious. So walk softly, but walk strong. Let your stillness speak louder than your arguments. Let your peace preach a sermon that words cannot reach. Let your rest be a revolution. Because in a world that is spinning, shouting, and scrambling, the one who walks in calm is the one who walks in power. And beloved, that power is yours, not someday. Not when it all makes sense, not when it's easy, but now. Because God is with you. And when God is with you, you can be unbothered. Not because you are blind to the pain, but because you are awake to the promise. And that promise will never fail. You see, being unbothered is not a denial of reality. It is the full acknowledgement of a higher one. It is the refusal to let the facts of this moment overrule the truth of eternity. It is standing with your eyes wide open to the storm, but your soul anchored to the rock. That rock is Jesus Christ, and there is no shifting in Him. There is no panic in heaven, no trembling in the throne room of God. And when your heart begins to understand that, when your spirit begins to align with that divine calm, you become a vessel of peace in a world of turmoil. You become the lighthouse on the cliff, shining not because you avoid the storm, but because you stand tall in the midst of it, lit by something deeper than human strength. The world says to react, God says to rest. The world says to panic, God says to pray. The world says to defend, God says to trust. And oh, what a difference it makes when you learn to live in His rhythm instead of the world's rush. The rhythm of grace is not hurried. It is not anxious. It does not wear itself out trying to keep up with shifting trends or endless comparisons. It walks with confidence because it knows the shepherd. It speaks with authority because it knows the word. It rests even in labor because it knows the outcome is not up for negotiation. It has already been secured. That is the posture of the unbothered soul. One that labors from peace, not for it. One that fights from victory, not for it. One that lives not to gain favor, but because favor has already been given. Now, the truth is, the journey to such a state is not easy. It requires pruning. It requires unlearning the habits of fear, the patterns of people-pleasing, the reactions that rise too quickly from wounded places. But every time you surrender those old reflexes to the Father, He gives you something better in return. He gives you the capacity to wait when others rush. He gives you the maturity to bless when others curse. He gives you the wisdom to see through the surface and into the soul of a situation. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to change. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to talk differently. You begin to carry yourself with an ease that can't be faked and can't be taken. That's what the unbothered life looks like. It's not loud, but it's loud in impact. It doesn't demand attention, but it draws it all the same. And there will be those who misunderstand it. They will mistake your stillness for weakness. They will accuse your silence of surrender. They will wonder why you don't engage in every argument, fight every battle, prove every point. But you don't have to, because you've learned the sacred art of letting go and letting God. You've discovered that when your heart is held by the one who sees all and knows all, there is no need to carry what you were never meant to. Your shoulders were never made to bear the weight of the world. That burden belongs to Christ, and He carries it with ease. So when you feel the need to respond, resist the urge. When you feel the temptation to prove your worth, pause. When you are invited into chaos, decline the invitation. Not from pride, but from peace. Not because you think you're better, but because you know who's in control. And this peace, it becomes your testimony. Not in what you say, but in how you live. It speaks in the way you walk into a room and bring calm with you. It shows in the way you look someone in the eye and see past their pain. It flows through the way you listen without rushing to respond. People may not know what it is at first, but they'll feel it. They'll sense that your peace is not performative, it's rooted. Your joy is not circumstantial, it's spiritual. Your kindness is not calculated, it's authentic. And in that quiet strength, you'll point them not to yourself, but to the source. For it is not about being unaffected by life, it's about being anchored through it. And that anchor is Christ. Let this be your daily pursuit, not the applause of people, not the perfection of plans, but the presence of God. For when you walk with Him, you walk differently. Your steps are steadier. Your words are gentler. Your decisions are wiser. You don't react to shadows when you're standing in the light. You don't jump at every noise when you know the shepherd's voice. That's the difference. The world runs on reaction. Heaven runs on revelation. And when you are led by revelation, you no longer fear what's ahead. You no longer dread the unknown, because you walk with the one who goes before you. Yes, trouble will come. You will be tested. You will be stretched. But remember, this faith is not the absence of fire. It is the presence of God in the fire. It is the confidence that the flames may touch your situation, but they will not consume your spirit. You will not be shaken, because the hand that holds you is stronger than anything that can confront you. And when that truth takes hold in your soul, you rise not above the people, but above the pressure. You operate not from fear, but from fullness, and the world can't quite understand it, because the world expects you to fall apart. The world expects you to lash out, to retaliate, to defend, but you don't. You bless, you release. You keep walking, because your eyes are fixed on something higher. Your heart is aligned with something deeper. The unbothered life, then, is not a retreat, it is an advance. It is not avoidance, it is awareness. It is living from a deeper well. It is speaking from a place that cannot be touched by man. It is choosing grace when vengeance is easier. It is choosing patience when urgency demands. It is choosing love when bitterness knocks. And all of that, it flows not from your strength, but from your surrender. The more you give God access to the corners of your soul, the more He fills them with peace. And the more He fills them, the less space there is for fear, for offense, for worry. Let me tell you, dear one, peace is not a passive gift. It is a powerful weapon. When you walk in peace, you are walking in dominion. When you remain calm, you confuse the enemy. When you don't flinch, the world takes notice. That's the glory of a life hidden in Christ. It becomes a light that darkness cannot comprehend. So shine, not by striving, but by staying rooted. not by trying to impress, but by staying at rest.